like, what were you doing with my drapes, the drapes that were hanging in the apartment? I never got the answer to that. Hi, this is Kari from Sky Properties, and today we're going to talk about the relationship between owner and tenant. I want to talk about this because, as you know, landlords often get a very bad rap, and for the most part, most of us are pretty darn good. For most of the things that I've managed for a very long time, it's mom and pop ownership, people that had the American dream of owning property and owning an apartment building, and they don't have money coming out of their ears. A lot of times it's their entire savings, and so they put their money aside and they bought an apartment building. And so this is not just an apartment building to them, it's their future, it's their savings. It's a lot of times they're completely 100% invested in these buildings. The stereotypical rocky relationship does not have to be, and I would tell you that one of the best things that you can do is make sure that before your tenant moves in that you put everything in writing. We call this a lease. We in property management like to update that lease at least once a year because the laws change every year. I also think for a small landlord that this is a perfect time to sit down with that tenant and to go over each and every paragraph individually so that they completely understand what they're responsible for, what you're responsible for. And I say to do this in person and go over it one by one because a lot of questions can come up during the time you're going over that lease that can easily be answered. Like, well, how much is a typical cleaning fee? And you can say, well, ours usually run between $150 to $250. So at least the tenant has an idea of what that might cost them when they move out. Or if they say, oh, I see that I could be charged for painting this, that, the other, you can always say we prorate our paint by 2 years so that people know what to expect when they move in and when they move out. Because a lot of times the move out or a repair or maintenance item is where that relationship goes wrong, and then it's renter versus owner, and that's not what you really want. It's a good opportunity to make sure that the communication is good from the start. You know, in this day and age, Sky Properties also has everything done electronically, but printing that lease out when you first meet with the tenant after they've signed it, I don't think it's a bad idea to go over it paragraph by paragraph to make sure that there's no misunderstandings in the long run. I always like to ask a tenant to highlight any questions they might have, and I always like to highlight things that I know have gone wrong in the past. You know, tenants want things right now. And I like to fill them in on, you know, if your AC breaks in August, there's a good chance that your AC is not going to be repaired within 24 hours. Not because we don't want to or because we haven't put in the work order or we're stalling or we have bad vendors. But in August, I can tell you that we have very good vendors and very reliable vendors, but things get so backlogged in those months, it's really hard to get people out very quickly. So I think setting out expectations for those types of things is also very important, and that's also good communication.